All right, YouTube, what is going on? It is Zaya here from Zaya&TheSteelers back with another video. And in today's video, I am going to be taking a look at the top free agents in the 2024 NFL offseason, according to CBS Sports, as they have released a list as of about 4 hours ago. So we're pretty early into this video. And of course, this is Zaya&TheSteelers. And so I'm going to be looking at them in relation to the Steelers, but also just kind of, taking a glance. I am an NFL fan in general as well. So if that's you, if you are an NFL fan in general or a fan of the Steelers and you end up enjoying this video, be sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell. We are pushing 500 subscribers. Thank you to who already have subscribed. And thank you to the future subscribers, man. So anyways, without further ado, let's get right into it. We are negative 13 in the hole. We are negative 13. You guys can't fully see it, but like Big Truz is negative 13 over here. We can see the player contracts right now, like the base salaries. TJ's 21, Cam 16, Minka 14, and then it goes so on and so forth. Something I thought was pretty cool or pretty interesting is like this dead cap number. So for example, if we were to release Allen Robinson, it would only count against 1 million against our cap. But we could release 10 of it essentially. So we're minus 13. We release Allen Robinson. It would count for one, but we would still free up 10 in cap space. So there's moves like that to be made, as I mentioned. Larry Ogunjobi, same thing. I thought Ogunjobi played well, but this 13 million in cap space is just a little spooky. Although his dead cap, it's 7 million. Do we need to even do nothing? Is that like enough of assurance of a freeance? What's his name? Alex Highsmith right here too. We're not gonna do anything with Highsmith. Big trust guys. But saving 12 million of the 13, that's kind of spooky. Like, I gotta be an agent or something one day, man. Cause like, what's the thought process behind like you save 12 million here if you cut him, but then we move down to Allen Robinson and you save 10 million, and like it only counts for 1 million against the cap. I'm not sure how that works. But as you can see, as I mentioned, we have negative 13 in cap space. So this is literally all fairy tale, Candyland, Mickey Mouse, Chutes and Ladders predictions right here for the Zaya. But fuck it. Why not, man? So starting out, Chris Jones. We're not going to get Chris Jones. I will say that. We're not going to get Chris Jones. But somebody who has been talked about slightly a little bit is Kirk Cousins. Like, are we going to get Kirk Cousins, man? To me, the cap space, as you guys can see, as I mentioned, it's crazy high. I don't think we can even afford him. But, if we think we are this team that can win in the next season or two, like if we can somehow transform our team and do that, I think Kirk Cousins is, good enough to where if he's surrounded by talent, if he's surrounded by pieces and we're running the ball like crazy, I think he's probably the best, talent option at the quarterback position that we find ourselves in. If you want to take a look at Kenny, Mason, Justin Fields, Russell Wilson, Kirk, like all the people who maybe we can get, and like not counting draft people either because we don't know, like all the people who we maybe can get, I would say Kirk Cousins is like the best option of them just in talent wise, but the age is a little spooky, 35, and I just don't think we're there yet. Plus the cap space too, like we don't even have close to 40 million per year for Kirk Cousins. We don't have that. Josh Allen, who is not the quarterback, we're not going to get. T. Higgins is interesting. Because there's been a lot of talks about him potentially being a wide receiver one. Like you take him off the Bengals and kind of let him do his own thing, then he's him. To me, I remember Juju Smith-Schuster a while back was wide receiver one, and when he wasn't wide receiver one, everybody was roasting us for it. It was like we were the only team ever to have a second receiver benefit from a number one receiver. Does T. Higgins benefit from Jamar Chase a lot? Low key. Does Jamar Chase miss games and T. Higgins still play well? Low key. Did that same thing happen with Juju in that first year? Low key. What does that mean? I don't know. But $16.5 million per year is his projected average salary. I almost said celery. His projected average salary. And as I mentioned, I don't think we're close to that. I don't necessarily think we need T. Higgins either. But that's interesting. Where will he go? Could be a kid team like Carolina. Could he stay in the division and go to Baltimore? They've been dying for a wide receiver, maybe. But yeah, I don't know. I think maybe Cincinnati keeps him somehow if they can, finagle that cap space. But I don't know how all these teams have cap space and we don't, man. But yeah, we will see about that. Next up is the kind of big hitter, the kind of like the headline favorite, and us in the Chicago Bears, man. We just love trading with the Bears. We love doing business with the Bears and their players. Jalen Johnson is a corner who I really want. He's a very good player, as you can see, top 5 free agent. And if we could get someone like him, if somehow, some way, we're talking about 15 million in salary. We are negative 13 as of right now. I don't know how it happens, but I just, if somehow, some way we can finesse it, I think he would be a very good piece to our team. I think we get someone like him, or if we bite the bullet and get a corner in the first or early in the second, if we somehow try to finagle that, like that to me solves the 1 and 2 cornerback thing. We have a position on lock for, at least Jalen Johnson's only 24 too. Like we have that position on lock for at least the next 5 seasons, barring injury or contract stuff. We get Jalen and we get Joey Porter Jr. out there. Like, that to me is a banger. And the 15.7 million per year, as I mentioned, like it's going to be tough to even figure that out. I don't know what we do. I don't know the moves we make. Because we can just like release the players that need to be released, right? Like Allen Robinson, no offense, but like the 11 million is crazy. Ogunjobi, it's a bit high to me. He plays well, but it is a bit high to me. So there's that. And then we look up like Deontay. Like, do we? It goes like once we release the people who we do, right? Then comes to like restructuring contracts, and I don't know how exactly that works. I don't know how you even go about offering a restructure on the contract. Like for example, it says restructure bonus here for Cam Hayward. Like, do we save 2 million on the cap space? I don't know. Like I said, I don't know how that works, and so I don't want to like project and like make all these false narratives or whatever. But I will say Jalen Johnson, if somehow, some way it's possible, if somehow, some way we can get him, we should get him. Brian Burns, unfortunately, we don't need an edge rusher. We have a lot of those. Justin Matabuke, I hope he leaves Baltimore. I hope someone pays him this whole thing and he goes far, far away from Baltimore. Christian Wilkins, I'm not really sure. Antoine Winfield, safety. He's just going to be a little bit too expensive. Like you can see 18.5 million for him. Michael Pittman Jr., who to me, he's a receiver. I don't think we're necessarily in the market, as I mentioned with T. Higgins. But he's kind of interesting. I kind of want to talk about him because I'm not sure like how good he actually is. I know the Colts, they had a span there with no Jonathan Taylor, and Michael Pittman stepped up. And of course, too, Anthony Richardson was hurt. They were playing with like, I think Gardner Minshew and maybe another quarterback all year. But he's projected to be 22 million. Colts, are you guys going to keep him? Do you guys like Michael Pittman, man? Like, what are you guys doing? How'd you let it get this far? Double down, re-sign your wide receiver one. Or don't. It's up to you guys, but I thought that was interesting. Danielle Hunter, I hope he stays in Minnesota. He had a fantastic year in Minnesota this year, although they didn't. But I hope he stays in Minnesota. L'Jarius Sneed is another person, kind of like Jalen Johnson, and for 11.8 versus, what is Jalen Johnson? 15.7, so this is about 4 million less. Somehow, some way, if we can make it happen, like I've mentioned, if we can make it happen, let's do it, man. L'Jarius Sneed, and we just saw him in the Super Bowl. He played pretty well, and I think not exactly like as solved as getting like a Jalen Johnson and Joey Porter Jr., but I still think he's a good piece to have. He's a good corner to have. And, it limits the Patrick Peterson out there. It limits even Levi Wallace, not too much on them. But we saw it was kind of bombs away at points. So I definitely think we could use another corner. And there's two, I forgot to mention Corey Trice and we had Darius Rush. Was it Darius Rush? Yeah, Darius Rush was on like this free agency thing. Maybe we keep him. But and those guys, Corey Trice was hurt before the season. Maybe he is him. We got to give him a chance too. But I really like for moves like this for if we can create the cap space and just kind of get L'Jarius, like I think we can go ahead and do that. And then if Corey Trice is good also, then we have 3 good corners, like more the merrier, as they say. Next, Mike Evans. Shout out to Brendan. He's been on the channel before. Brendan loves Mike Evans. For 24 million, I would love to see Mike Evans as a Steeler, but I just don't see how that necessarily happens given the contract and the age, low-key. But Mike Evans, he seems like a Steeler, man. Like Mike Evans has never had a season of not having 1,000 yards, which I think is wrong, but like he's had it 10 out of 11 times or something like that. Like he's pretty much Mike Tomlin of 1,000-yard seasons, and so if we can get Mike Evans, that would be pretty sick. Moving down here too now to Kendall Fuller, another corner who maybe we take a look at. It's really going to be all about corners, and I have yet to see a fucking tackle or a center here. So it's going to be all about corners in this free agency, or even a middle linebacker, man. Like that's the only free agents we can really look at is corner. And 14 million, as I mentioned, if we can make it happen, we can make it happen. Chase Young, preseason Steeler. He played pretty well in the Super Bowl. We're not going to get him this time. We couldn't get him on the trade. The 49ers are probably going to keep him if they can, although I don't know how they have any cap space ever, but they do. So we'll see. Marquise Brown, a free agent, former Raven. I don't know what's going to happen with him. I don't even know how he played on the Cardinals. How did he play on the Cardinals? Do they have stats up here? Not to just completely derail, but I want to see 500 yards for 4 touchdowns. Did he play all season? That's a little spooky. The Cardinals, though, they're not that good, so it is what it is. Shout out to Marquise. Next, Baker Mayfield, ladies and gentlemen. Baker Mayfield, I have yet to mention in like the potential quarterback things because one, I think it's insane for Tampa to let him go. Maybe you still draft like a later guy just in case, but Baker after the season he just had, if you can keep him and Mike Evans, I think you do that as Tampa Bay. And the Steelers, I've mentioned the cap space in general. Like maybe we can somehow fit Baker Mayfield into that. But you know, I think it's maybe a little redundant. Are we better than the Bucks? Is the Steelers today better than the Bucks last year? Because we saw Baker probably, I don't want to say maybe at his best, but like overall around him too. I don't know if that Bucks team last year or the Browns team where we lost in the playoffs. I don't know which team is like necessarily better. But if we're not at the level that the Bucks are, maybe we're better on defense, but on offense, like if we're not there, we've seen what Baker can do. I don't think he can exactly be that guy. But hey, man, this is just me. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we do resign, or maybe we do sign Baker Mayfield and he's our guy. But I don't think that's necessarily the answer. Calvin Ridley, I mean, maybe he'll probably stay in Jacksonville. DJ Reader, I hope goes far away. Tyron Smith, 33 years old. There is no contract here. If I think, does he play the left side? Is Tyron a left or right tackle? I don't, he's probably going to command a high number. It won't be for a long contract, so it'll probably be like a 1 for, 10, 15 or something like that right against the cap. Kind of spooky, but, maybe we do need a tackle, so maybe. Sean Murphy Bunting, this is a corner for only $6 million. Maybe we go ahead and get him. Maybe we get Kyle Duggar or Cameron. I don't think we can get Cameron Curl. Jeez. But Sean Murphy Bunting for $6 million. If we want to make it happen, he's a solid corner. Maybe we'll go out and get him. But my first choices, I guess, in the free agency is either Jalen or L'Jarius Sneed. Of course, they're the more expensive options too. But we could, maybe get Sean Murphy Bunting for like $6 million. Why not, man? Devin White, a free agent middle linebacker who, 20 million. I don't think we have that. But once again, a man can dream, man. A man can dream. And if we look down here, number 28, Kevin Dotson, man. Like Kevin Dotson, what a career revival. And I don't even want to say revival because it's not like he was horrible on our team. He wasn't like bad on the Steelers. I think we just were kind of feeling ourselves and we didn't have the system to have Kevin Dotson play this well like the Rams do, Like Kevin Dotson, when he on the Rams, he was like a top, I want to say 5 guard in the league, top 3 guard in the league. He did his thing, and congratulations to him. I don't think, we have the room to bring him back. If we do, let's bring him back. But I also think our offensive line system isn't like, it doesn't work for Dotson, man. It just didn't work. And so I'm not going to be mad at the Steelers for getting rid of him. I'm not going to be like, yeah, Kevin, come back because like you're good now. Because there's a chance he comes back and he's all of a sudden he's not this top 5, guard again because of our system. So that's cool though. I think that is pretty interesting that we trade him and he gets better. Next, let's see. Saquon's on here. Saquon, is anybody going to resign Saquon? Josh Jacobs, man, look at all these. Oh my God, look at all these running backs. Saquon, Josh Jacobs, Tony Pollard, Derrick Henry, and Austin Eckler, all veteran running backs. All are, are they going to get re-signed? Derrick Henry, there's been talks about him going to the Ravens. Austin Eckler, he didn't have the greatest year on the Chargers this year, but I still think a solid player. Tony Pollard, same thing. Like, I don't know if it was injury or like maybe Ezekiel Elliott leaving had like a huge effect on the Dallas Cowboys. And like Dak Prescott this year, he had like 40 touchdowns. It seemed like they were like throwing the ball a lot. But Tony Pollard at one point, like 2-3 years ago, was like a pretty shining option. Was like a RB2 who was like special almost. And so we will see what happens with Tony. We will see what happens if he ends up getting a big deal. Josh Jacobs, same thing. Like he was just like the rushing leader, and now this dude, is he gonna get re-signed? I don't know. I'm sure Josh Jacobs will get picked up. I'm sure all these guys will get picked up. But as far as like the price for him, like I think these contracts like low key could be spooky. Like 3-year deal for Saquon. No offense, but I don't know. Just with the way the running back market is, I just don't know who does this, man. Same thing, 4-year deal for Josh Jacob, 3-year for Tony Pollard. Derrick Henry on a 1-year, I can see. Like, this makes sense to me. Derrick Henry on a 1-year. He's the oldest, too. And maybe I'm hating, and maybe I don't understand the NFL value, but forgive me if I'm wrong. I feel like 26 in running back terms is 30. 28 in running back terms is 30. Like, Austin Eckler about to get a 3-year deal. Spooky. Not saying he doesn't deserve it, but just my observation of how the running back market is in the NFL. Spooky, man. Like a 3-year deal, spooky. So I could see all these guys getting like shorter deals, and then from there, they do their thing. But it's tough, man. It really is tough. It's like you got one chance as a running back to get that long-term deal, And then after that, you're going to be on Derrick Henry status, trying to get 1 year. Like 1 year for $4.3 million for Derrick Henry. Is Derrick Henry that bad? I had him in fantasy, and boy, did he let me down late there. But he kind of turned up at the end of the season, and it was just that playoff game in fantasy, man. I got robbed in fantasy football this year, ladies and gentlemen. Completely off topic, but just unbelievable. But is Derrick Henry like 4.3 million? Like that's it? We're talking about Derrick Henry, like that's what it costs. Like that's crazy. And then you look too, like on these multi-year deals, like there are all the averages higher. Like we got 6 for Saquon, 10 for damn near 11 for Josh Jacobs, 7 for Tony Pollard, and then we got 4 for Derrick Henry. That's a little spooky. Next we have Patrick Queen, who, you know, obviously is a Raven, obviously is a middle linebacker, and obviously is making 18.5 million projected. I don't think we can afford it, but you know, I would love to make it happen. This whole video is we can't afford any of these people, but I would love to make it happen. You know, that's literally this whole video. But it's true. And Patrick Queen, I hope he goes far away from the Ravens. Honestly, any division like Zadarius Smith on the Browns, I hope he goes away from the Browns. Jacoby Brissett, somebody I've seen mentioned with the Steelers, not necessarily even real, but just kind of, you know, throwing ideas out there. Jacoby Brissett, just off the name alone, is like how I feel when I hear Mason. No offense. Like if that's a bad power scale, if I'm completely wrong about that, then my bad. But when people are like, we should re-sign Mason Rudolph, I hear in my head we should sign Jacoby Brissett. Like it's the same thing, you know. And Jacoby Brissett, not to say he's the worst, that's why he's been in the NFL for so long, but we know what we're gonna get from Jacoby Brissett. We've seen him now on like what 3 or 4 different teams. We know he's not like that guy. Maybe in a perfect world he can be that guy, but I don't think we're a perfect world right now. Zadarius Smith, I mentioned, I hope he goes far away. Kenny Moore the second, maybe we get him. Stephon Gilmore, he's a bit older in 11 million a year. A little spooky for us, but you know, once again, if we can just get that room patched up, that cornerback room, like we are one corner away from just never having to worry about it again. And we're a team who's been worrying about corner for what 10, 15 years now. No offense to Joe Hayden, he had it locked up at that one point, but we still needed another corner when we had Joe Hayden. Steven Nelson was doing his thing at one point, I remember. We've had like, you know, other kind of CB2s. Mike Hilton was like our slot guy for a little bit. But we could use like just that other piece to kind of complete the puzzle. I believe this is 50, and we're at 50. All of these guys, I really only mentioned the corners and, you know, some defensive players. Offensive tackle, I feel like there was one here that I kind of skipped over. Trent Brown, he's 30, same thing, same kind of vibes with the guy up here, Tyron Smith. 33 years old, 30 years old, tackle, like probably going to be a high, you know, 1 year deal, cap hit. I don't think it's possible. But, you know, just in terms of needs, you know, that's where we're at. And kind of an off point, but I've been doing like mock drafts and like we're talking about this free agency thing and who can we get, what pieces can we get. We can, of course, always get like these low key pieces to kind of, you know, slightly improve the team, right? But unfortunately, the Steelers, we're at a point where like, we have the players. We're using all of our cap. Like if it doesn't work with the pieces that we have, you know, the only real thing is, you know, another quarterback who is him or whatever. You know, maybe we get that and we look good, but we look at outside linebacker, we have TJ and Alex. We look at safety, we have Minka. We could use another one, but you know, we have Minka out there. Defensive end, Cam's still there. I want to say like Keanu Benton played well. We have like some other defensive line pieces as well. Like Ogunjobi, for example, is there too. Guards like Daniels and Samalo are pretty good guards. Like maybe we marginally improve there. Corner, I mentioned, you know, maybe we could middle linebacker. I thought Cole and Landon played well. But you know, maybe we can improve there too. Center, we definitely need a new center, and there was not one on the board. But the overall point, and we look at receivers too. We got Pickens, we got Deontay, we got, you know, we could use a third one, but we're not gonna like get Mike Evans to be our wide receiver 3. Like we're just at a point where we're built. You know, we're built. This is the team we are, and unless we want to make drastic changes with the team we are, we're not in the position to just sign like big name, you know, linebacker, big name tackle, big name running back, big name safety, big name wide receiver, because we've made our choice. We've made, you know, we have TJ, we have George Pickens, we have Larry, we have Highsmith, we have these pieces, we have Najee and Jaylen Warren at the running back spot. Like all of our pieces are low key already there. It's just about actually making it work, getting the coaching to elevate the players themselves. And then, you know, maybe like I said, the quarterback thing, if you got a QB, if you got Mahomes, and you can do whatever with that. But you know, that's going to be tough to get unless we, you know, make some things happen. So I think that is going to do it for this video. If you guys did end up enjoying, be sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell. I appreciate anybody who watched this, especially the whole thing. I really thank you guys. Let me know some free agents you guys want to see. Let me know if some like cap moves that maybe we can make, because like I said, I'm not really the most familiar, especially like math too. Like guys, I am not that math guy, but I feel like this right here makes it pretty simple with like the dead cap thing. Like we release Allen Robinson, we save 10 million because, you know, it counts for one against our cap. Like we could save 10 million by getting rid of Allen. We're negative 13, so that brings us to negative 3. We do like a few more like bada bing, bada booms, you know, and all of a sudden we have some cap space. But still, just, you know, these guys, like these average per years, like I don't know how we make that happen, to be honest. I really don't know how we make it happen. But, you know, man, we will see. But like I said, that's going to do it for me. Peace out, and I will see you in the next video.